This portion of Moving Mornings brought to you by the Tipsy Tomato at the Rocky Mount Mills. If you missed the mariachi band on Sunday, by the way, you missed a great time. Angelo and the guys, they did a really good job with Cinco de Mayo. You can always stop by Tipsy Tomato, craft beer, craft pizza, wood-fired wings, Tipsy Tomato at the Rocky Mount Mills. I got a really cool guest in the studio with me. It's Dakota Lee Animal Talk, and you actually have like the ability to talk to animals.
That is true.
That's so freaking cool.
I think so too. Thank you.
When did you find out that you could talk to cats, dogs, rhinos,
yep,
elephants, zebras?
All of the above.
I mean, how in the world do you pull something like that off? That's so cool.
Well, okay, so it's kind of a story. So the first time I heard about it, I was about 12 years old, and I did not think it was real. I was actually kind of scared of the entire idea. I wanted to run the other direction.
It kind of happened by accident.
Well, almost a couple years later, I heard about it again and thought, maybe I'm going to try this time. So basically, I tried it. I talked to my cat. I asked her to stay off my keyboard. And at the time, all I knew how to do was kind of like think at her. I just tried that. She didn't twitch an ear. She didn't move, nothing. But what was really cool is that from that point on, she never touched that keyboard again on that computer until I got a new computer. So then I had to re-explain it to her. But from that first point, I thought, okay, I'm seeing a result. I think I'm going to keep trying this and see if it keeps working. And it did. It did. Now I'm a professional. I can do it on purpose, and I can actually hear what they're saying back at this point, which is very cool.
So you go to It's a Zoo Life.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
In Pine Tops, like right down the road from us.
Yep.
And it's like field day for you in elementary school because you get a chance to talk to Axel the wolf.
Yes.
And, I mean, there's foxes out there. You just talked to a brand new fox the other day.
That's right. They have a new fox out there, a fennec fox, and his name is Michael J. Fox. Very cute. And so he is just brought in. Well, they have a female already. They kind of brought him in for the female to see if they'd, want to be a family. And I talked to both of those foxes, the male and the female, Foxanne and Michael J. Fox, and they're not quite connecting on that score yet. It was kind of hilarious because Foxanne tells me, he's asked a couple times about that, but just no, I'm just not ready. Okay. And then I went to talk to Michael about that, and he goes, so is she for me? Because I don't think she gets it. So they're still working some things out. And he said, they told, let's see, what's some other information I learned from him? Bobby Joe, who owns It's a Zoo Life, was told that he's about 6 years old. But when I asked him, he thinks he's about 4. And he said that's not, the people who Bobby Joe got him from. That's not their fault. They also thought he was 6 years old. It's the people right before that who might have fudged his age a little bit. Ooh. Yeah. So, but it's okay. And let's see. Oh, and he said that, if his only job isn't to just be with Foxanne, he'd like something else to do, like maybe chase some lizards around.
And that's something that foxes do. So
yeah.
That makes sense. So can you stick around for a second?
Absolutely.
So coming up next, you actually talked to a couple of our dogs here at the studio. So we'll talk about that coming up shortly. Don't go away. We'll be right back. More Dakota Lee with Dakota Lee Animal Talk up next. Maroon 5's Payphone moving 99.3. Good morning. My name's Kevin Bullock. We're WZAX, Nashville, Rocky Mount, Wilson, Tarboro. Hanging out with Dakota Lee from Dakota Lee Animal Talk this morning. And if you missed our first segment, Dakota literally has the ability to talk to your pet. And it is the coolest thing. And I was going to, some people are skeptical about this kind of thing. What do you say to people that, you can't talk to my dog. There's no way in the world you can do that. But you were on another radio program not too long ago. And
That's right.
You shut him up real quick.
Well, yeah, it seems so. I was on Bob on the Showgram and G105. I'd say a little close to a year ago. And Bob certainly was a skeptic. And I do not blame a single person for being skeptical. I think you should. But you should also give me a chance because even though he was skeptical, he let me talk. He brought his dog Rosie into the studio, and I got to talk to Rosie. And after we had a conversation, he didn't have a whole lot to say anymore. So that's kind of what I say to the skeptics. Be skeptical at first, but also give me a chance. If I get it right, then I got it right. I
got to give you a lot of credit. You're one of the few people in the entire history of radio that was able to shut Bob up for any length of time. Now, I can say that because Bob's a friend of mine.
Got it.
But that's incredible that you were able to make Bob, the showgram guy, a loss of words. That's something else.
For a time, yeah, he definitely seemed to just, okay, Rosie was telling on him for sure. It was kind of cute. He wanted to know why she wouldn't come back to him when he called her when she got out. So I asked her, why do you leave in the first place? And she tells me, well, I just kind of see it all as my territory. I don't feel like I'm leaving the property. It's all mine. And I go, okay, well, what about when Bob calls you back? And then she gets an attitude. She goes, okay, that is his fault. And I go, why? And she's like, because he gets so angry. Who wants to come back to that?
Well, that sounds like his co-host on the radio show, too. So he does the same thing to his dog. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was, a piece of information that I hadn't had before. And so, yeah, it matched up. Plenty of people, are never going to believe in what I do, but that doesn't make it any less real. And what I say to the skeptics is that I can't be guessing and get it right this many times. And so, so I talked to your dog, Shorty.
Shorty.
Yeah, Shorty. And it was so cute. So all I need to connect to an animal really is a photo. I love doing in-person sessions, but
so you don't have to have the animal right in front of you.
No, I don't. And the connection is just as strong as long as I have their photo. And sometimes all I need is their name. But so you got me Shorty's photo, and I connected with him. And he was very suspicious at first. Mm-hmm. He's like,
Of you?
Of me. Of me. And he's like, what are you doing here but not here? What are you doing here? And I go, well, I was kind of hoping to talk to you. And he was still like, And then I go, I have Kevin right next to me. And then all of a sudden, it was like I could feel him just light up. He's like, Kevin's there? I'm like, yeah. And he got so happy, and like he started to do the happy pant and showed me a little bit of a tail wag. And again, this is in my mind's eye. I can't actually see him.
I was going to say, is it like a phone call? Or
It is a lot like a phone call. Okay. It sometimes switches to video. I can I get it a lot in words so I can hear them, but it also, whenever they need it, I get it in images or sensations. They'll share their memories with me, just whatever works best to communicate to me what they want. It just picks up the best method, because they're not hearing me in English. They're hearing me in dog or cat or rhino or whatever it is,
Okay.
But it works best. I hear it in English, and that's what works best for me.
That's so neat. Mm-hmm. So I want you to come back for one more segment.
Awesome.
But if we want to find out more about Dakota Lee Animal Talk, I mean, is there a phone number we call, like an Instagram, a Twitter, a Facebook?
Yes. So if you are interested in learning more, you want a session, go to DakotaLeeAnimalTalk.com. You can also go to my Facebook page, Dakota Lee Animal Talk. Everything's Dakota Lee Animal Talk. And I also have an Instagram, Dakota Lee Animal Talk. You guessed it. Everything, Dakota Lee Animal Talk.
Yeah, or you could just Google it and something will pop up.
That's right. That's too.
Don't go away real quick. Stick around. Backstreet Boys, Breaking My Heart, Moving 99.3. Good morning. It's Moving Mornings. My name's Kevin Bullock. We're talking to Dakota Lee from Dakota Lee Animal Talk this morning, and you've been on the show with us about 45 minutes now, and we're having a good time. Mm-hmm. But you got some really cool stories you want to share.
Yes. So, again, I get a lot of skeptics in this, and so I wanted to share some stories to kind of help you guys see what I really do. So
kind of prove it. Yeah.
Kind of prove it, yeah. And I know it's my word, but I've also, on my website, I've got my clients telling me that this is something that's really helped them too. So anyway, the first story I want to share was the first time I did this professionally. I was very, very nervous. This was about 3 years ago, and my client didn't even believe in animal communication, but she was also desperate. So she's like, you know what? If this lady thinks she can help me, okay, let's have her in. So I met this big mastiff named Louie, and he had just been adopted by my human client, but he wasn't getting along with the house. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of all the information I knew about him at first, but what quickly he told me was that the reason he wasn't fitting in, he had all these weird problems, he wouldn't even come in the house, was that he was missing his person. And turns out he had already bonded with the woman in his foster home right before he came to his adoptive home. And so he described the woman to me. It was a woman, early 40s, kind of short brown hair. And so I said that to my client, and she goes, is that Katie? Asked the dog, is that Katie? Yes, that was Katie. And so he described her to me, and he was missing her. His heart was broken. He wanted to go back to her. And so we talked to Louie for about an hour and worked on his problems, and they decided, you know what, okay, he can go be happy again. We're going to go bring him back to Katie. And so that was wonderful. But there was also this little dog named Ella. She was a terrier, tiny, especially compared to the Mastiff that my client also had. And as soon as I'm done with Louie, actually right before I'm done with Louie, all of a sudden Ella couldn't wait anymore. She ran up to me. She puts her two little paws on my lap, and all of a sudden I hear her go, I have a problem. Just like that. I have a problem. And so I go
like a Priss.
Totally.
A problem.
Oh, totally. And here we go from Louie, who's like been super sad and something's breaking his heart. And then all of a sudden Ella runs up. I have a problem. Okay, Ella, what is your problem? And so she tells me there is something in the dryer that's mine and I can't get it out. I want it out. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I turned to my client, and it was my first session, so I was really nervous to do this. I think, is there a chance I'm making this up? Because that seems really weird, but I'm going to say it anyway because I think I heard it right. Well, I turned to my client and I said, is there something of Ella's in the dryer? And my client's face, she was perfectly still for about 3 seconds, and suddenly she goes, oh, her beaver.
Her beaver?
Her beaver. Turns out Ella's absolute favorite toy in the world was a beaver. And yes, it had just been through the wash and was in the dryer and had not been pulled out of the dryer yet. And so my client went into the laundry room, grabbed that little toy out of the laundry, brought it to Ella. Ella snatched that thing up and ran around the yard with it in her mouth. She was so happy. I solved her problem. And so whenever someone, says, I'm not sure this is real, I can just tell them, you know what? The beaver was in the dryer. The beaver was in the dryer.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you have sessions that you can go to somebody's house and if they have a cat that's like they don't get along with, a dog, whatever pet.
Yes.
It doesn't matter to you.
No, it doesn't.
They can call you, email you, Facebook message, Instagram message. And they can find you, and you'll come to their house.
Yes.
And you'll talk to them.
Or we can do, sessions over the phone as well. So I do have a travel fee if I have to go over half an hour from where I live. But there's also on the phone sessions, which are just as powerful. And I have a really good example of that. So I have a client who most of the year lives in Spain. And you can believe I can't commute to Spain every single time. So we have sessions over the phone. And all I need is a picture to communicate with her animals. Well, she had this horse. She's a very high-level jumper that was having weird problems, and the vet couldn't figure it out. So the vet had checked him over the day before, could not figure out what was going on with his symptoms, very strange symptoms. I asked him, she called me and she goes, Dakota, just ask him, where's the pain? We cannot figure it out. So I asked him, and he knew exactly where it was on him. He said it was coming from his neck vertebrae, right at the base of his neck, those vertebrae had twisted. It was pushing on the nerves, and he had all sorts of weird nerve pain. And that's why his symptoms were so weird, because nerve pain looks very, very strange. It was there sometimes and not other times. So I was able to tell my client this, and she went back to the vet the next day. They checked his neck in that exact spot, and that's exactly what was going on. She came back to me and said the vet found inflammation between those vertebrae, and sure enough, it had caused them to shift. And so they were able to give him a shot in that spot to help calm the inflammation, bring those bones back where they needed to be, and he is in recovery right now. And without my his input and me being able to say his input, it might have that horse might have been out of a career. But because he could talk to me about it, we figured it out. And so I'm not a vet at all, but I can really help. You can tell your vet, can you just check here first? And if it works out, it helps everybody. So I love doing that for people and for animals.
So it's DakotaLeeAnimalTalk.com.
Yes. Yes.
And you want people to hire you so you can help them.
Yes, please. I would love to talk to your animal. It makes my day when I have sessions. I absolutely love it.
Hey, that's Dakota Lee. She's the Animal Talk girl.
That's me. Thank you.
That's the coolest thing. I'm a huge fan.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
You're so welcome. I had a great time.
Keep rocking out. That's
All right.
so cool.